On June 11th, 2017, Puerto Rico held a referendum on whether or not statehood should be obtained. In that referendum, 97% of those who voted in favor of statehood. To consider what that will mean, here are some things that need to be understood about Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is an unincorporated U.S. territory. Its residents have U.S. citizenship but cannot vote in presidential elections, nor does Puerto Rico have voting representation in the U.S. Congress. To get a better understanding of Puerto Rico's political issues, you must look at Puerto Rico's history. In 1493, Puerto Rico became a colony of Spain. It remained a colony of Spain until 1898, at the end of the Spanish-American War. This is how Puerto Rico became part of the United States. The United States of America sought out the colonies in the Caribbean region. Spain had those colonies, had Cuba, had Puerto Rico. And that was not all. Colonies in the Pacific, such as the Philippines and Guam, those were all part of Spain. And what ended up happening was war broke out. And at the end of that war, Spain lost those colonies. With Puerto Rico was sought after because of its strategic location. Puerto Rico is located at the easternmost part of the Greater Antilles. However, it is just west of the Lesser Antilles in the Caribbean. It is somewhat centrally located among those islands. And because of that, it was a great strategic advantage for U.S. naval operations. In 1917, Puerto Rico would get the Jones Act. And with the Jones Act, Puerto Ricans were made citizens of the United States. However, that citizenship came with some limitations. As mentioned earlier, Puerto Ricans do not vote for the president. They can vote in the primaries. However, Puerto Rico does not have representation in the U.S. Congress. Puerto Ricans cannot vote for the president. Because of that, there have been issues. There are many who feel that statehood would be good for Puerto Rico because certain issues that would affect Puerto Rico, Congress would hear those issues. It would give people living on the island more of a voice. To get a little more information on Puerto Rico itself, Puerto Rico is the smallest island of the Greater Antilles. As mentioned before, it is the easternmost of the Greater Antilles. Its capital and largest city is San Juan. The population of Puerto Rico is 3.4 million. Its size is comparable to Rhode Island. It has a population comparable to that of the U.S. state of Connecticut. It is very mountainous. There are a variety of ecosystems in Puerto Rico. Many people go to Puerto Rico because of its value in its geography. You have the mountainous regions, you have tropical rainforest, you have the beaches. People go there on cruises. But tourism is not all that Puerto Rico is about. Puerto Rico is a major manufacturing center. The largest part of its economy is in manufacturing. Puerto Rico is a major center for pharmaceuticals. And there's something else that needs to be understood. If Puerto Rico does obtain statehood, there's the potential to add 5 to 7 seats in the U.S. Congress for the Electoral College. This is the meat of how the U.S. president is chosen. And with that said, there's something more to consider. Under the Jones Act, ships that are not flying under the U.S. flag, they cannot directly go to Puerto Rico. They have to go to a port on the mainland and then break bulk there. Then the goods that were bound for Puerto Rico go to Puerto Rico from the mainland. There is the possibility, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there is the possibility that if Puerto Rico does become a state, that possibility is there that that certain part of the Jones Act could be repealed. Puerto Rico, Alaska, Hawaii, U.S. territories all have the same problem. The Jones Act means that ships flying under different flags other than the United States must go to the mainland U.S. ports. They cannot go to like the non-mainland ports. And because of that, that creates a problem. Puerto Rico already has issues regarding cost of living. It is very expensive compared to many parts of the United States. You have a situation where much of the goods that are going to Puerto Rico, much of the goods have to be shipped in. Because of that, this means many goods that are purchased in Puerto Rico are expensive. Having to break bulk on the mainland before going to Puerto Rico makes that even worse. There is the possibility that that situation could change, simply because if Puerto Rico were to become a state, there would be more people. There would be more electoral seats. There would be more representatives to voice those concerns. And then there is another thing to consider. If Puerto Rico becomes a state, it is important to consider the cultural and the language aspects. Both Spanish and English are spoken in Puerto Rico. However, Spanish is the main language that is used. Spanish is the main language of instruction in Puerto Rico. If Puerto Rico becomes a state, there are some things that need to be considered. Is instruction done in Spanish or in English? Or do we do it in both languages? That is something that needs to be considered because Spanish has been spoken in Puerto Rico since it became a colony of Spain. And then here are some economic factors to consider about Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is considered a very prosperous region in Latin America. However, if it does become a U.S. state, it will be the poorest state in the U.S. It will have the highest unemployment rate in the United States. And currently Puerto Rico has a very big debt crisis. $70 billion in debt. And with that noted, there's the idea that, if Puerto Rico becomes a state, there is an idea that, that debt crisis could be ameliorated. There are some people who favor statehood, saying that, some economic advantages could come from it. Some say that there are economic disadvantages that will come with Puerto Rico becoming a state. It leaves a lot to consider what the future will look like. We can only guess at this moment. All we know is that there are those who are looking to have more of a voice, who feel that Puerto Rico's status as a U.S. territory, as an unincorporated territory, does not afford the people a large enough voice in their own affairs. Many have thought, do we go independent? Or do we become a state? And this is all the more reason we need to learn about geography, about historical geography, political geography. We can get more of an awareness of what goes on in the world. And it helps make more informed decisions based on that. You can think strategically and analytically. Don't forget, check out more videos on this channel. There are so many here. And it's not just about this video. You've got a whole range of subjects in geography and in the geoscience realm. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, and subscribe.